So where in the world do we allow for crazy ideas to come about? Because if you're always trying to protect what you have, whether you're a large company or a government, then you're stuck with incremental progress. But if you really want breakthroughs, then you need to be thinking in outlandish ways.
Do you ever consider the possibility that technology is a life form in and of itself? Do you ever consider the possibility that we are somehow locked in some symbiotic relationship to we are the worker bees creating this new life form?
We're going to see a huge change in the car. And again, it's going to come pretty fast, by 10 years, I think.
And a kid in Africa today with a smartphone has access to more information than the President of the United States did 15 years ago.
That the cell phone in one's pocket today, the average smartphone, is 1 million times cheaper, 1 million times smaller, and 1,000 times more powerful than a supercomputer that was $60 million, half a building in size, 40 years ago. So what used to be half a building now fits in your pocket.
Which leads to an obvious conclusion. We are the gods now.
Welcome to the Futurology Podcast. My name is Jason, and with me always is Alex. How are you, Alex?
Good, I'm well. A little stifled, but I'm fantastic.
I know we've had one week off or 1 month off, but now you're back. People were missing you. They were sending me comments. So, how do people know you? Where do people know you from?
People know me from my YouTube channel, SpeakMouthWords, that has or had, I've yet to decide, a show on it called Nobody Paying Attention.
Mm-hmm.
It's been off on a hiatus as well, so clearly it's clearly my fault that the reason both of these have been off. I had exams and stuff. What are you going to do? Young people these days.
Yeah.
And their education. So something will be coming back. I don't know if it'll be NPA, but it'll be something, and it'll be something to do with futurology, and I want to do some other type stuff as well. So it's all very exciting.
How long does one of those videos take? Because they're only a couple minutes long, but I like it because it's like blasting people with information that they would have to spend quite a bit of time finding for themselves.
It takes less time than you'd imagine. Like, they look like they take a day. They take about half a day, but the sheer amount of frustration that you have to go through in order to nail that one take where you do it, you remember everything and you do it perfect and you don't stumble over your words, it's just so exhausting. So I always put it off to the last minute. I really shouldn't, because they're good, but yeah.
You know what's funny about those videos is, like, you do them in one take, and that's actually harder to do, but it's very trendy on YouTube to, like, click and then talk and then click and then cut away. You know what I mean?
Jump cuts. I have so many YouTube friends who jump cut, and I'm always like, you should probably learn to talk properly, you know?
Yeah.
doing YouTube has really increased my ability to do public speaking, just because I don't jump cut. I saw a video recently of one of the most popular, this is way off topic of futurology, but I saw one of the most popular YouTubers showing what it was like when he didn't edit the stuff and when he knew it was going to be jump cutting, and it's a complete travesty. Like, someone who's had so many videos put out, and they just can't yet talk into a camera properly without cutting because they're used to it. So yeah, I don't jump cut. I know there's people who really hate jump cuts. So yeah. SpeakMouthWords on YouTube is where you want to be.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, to be honest, I probably would jump cut too, just because I fumble around with my words.
Yeah.
But two more quick announcements. The first one is I reached out to Ben Gertzel because he was doing that robot project where they want to build like the smartest robot or whatever. So they're going to do an AMA next Tuesday, the 16th. I believe it'll be 7 p.m. Eastern time over at IAMA. We'll get an announcement up. Hopefully you guys get some questions up for him. The second announcement is that the site SamsonMotorworks.com, they are the ones who are building a flying car right now. We're going to have one of their engineers come on the podcast. So we'll make a thread if you guys have questions that you guys want to ask one of the engineers of this. It looks pretty cool. I'll post a link. But yeah, So there's those two things. Let's jump right into it, though. I'll go with the first link. It's got 949 upvotes, and the title is "Remember the super hydrophobic coating that we all heard about a couple years ago? Well, it's finally hitting the shelves, and it's only $20. That was submitted by UXL. And I'm glad you're on, because I did want to ask about some of the science behind this.
Sure.
Yeah, so you watch the video, right? You can pretty much coat your shoes into this, throw them in a bowl of tar, and they'll be fine. How does that work?
It's a little thing called entropy. So what a hydrophobic material is, it's a material that appears to repel water. It's where the name comes from, hydrophobic. It makes sense. And the way it works is because of the concept of entropy. Now, those who are familiar with entropy would know that it's roughly equal to disorder. It's a measure of disorder and disarray in a system. And water is very chaotic. It's very nice and dynamic, and it's all just interacting all over the place and rolling around and zipping from A to B and all sorts. So it's very chaotic. And it would like to, statistically, maintain its chaotic nature. A system will always increase its disorder. A closed system will always increase its disorder. And even in non-closed systems, really chaotic systems are just statistically likely. You only have to look at a child's room to know that it gets messy over time, and then you have to put energy into tidying it up again. So when you have water, it's trying to be all like messy, and you put a polymer into it, and due to the interactions between water, if you have a polymer that doesn't interact with the water, this actually causes the water to line up on the surface into kind of, not into rows, but so it all faces in the same direction. So that's not very disordered. So if water wants to tend towards disorder, the best way for it to do that is just to leave the premises. Just get away from that molecule so it can be wiggly somewhere else. So a really hydrophobic system, like when you see dewdrops on leaves, or in this super hydrophobic spray, will cause water statistically to just stay away from it, because it wants to keep its entropy high and increase its measure of disorder. And it's very clever, because it's not actually a force. It's just manipulating the statistics of molecules.
There's a comment by username A Lot of Reading, and he throws down a few bullet points like halfway down that thread. And one of them is that it can make the material you're spraying it on become very brittle. He says here, putting it on fabrics and other flexible things will inevitably cause breakage and cracks. I don't know who this guy is or if his sources are accurate, but it's something to look into. I mean, this, I'm definitely going to buy it just to play with it. But he also says here that don't put it on anything that goes into the oven, because the stuff is toxic. But it's something I'm going to read into more. But just seeing that video,
in your mouth, all sorts.
Yeah, don't use it as a toothpaste. But so we'll post that up again. That's a cool video. Let's jump into the next one there.
Okay, so the second highest voted article, we kind of prune it a bit, but the second highest voted article of the month was by user Trickish, who I think we've had on the show before. 10 mind-blowingly futuristic technologies that will appear by the 2030s. The 2030s are the years that go 2031, 2032, and so on.
Yes.
So this is what we should expect by the year 2033. I'm just going to reel down these because we have talked about many of these on the show before. This is a nice, interesting, varied list. Some I hadn't considered before, so it's pretty cool.
So wait, before we start this, so should we say the thing and then discuss a little bit, or just kind of blow through them?
Let's just have a couple of sentences.
Okay.
On each one. So number 1, artificially intelligent personal assistants. Siri, basically. Yeah. But more so, like a computer you can talk to, like in Iron Man, he's got that house that talks.
Yeah.
Number 2, computers are everywhere but unseen. Have we talked about pervasive computing before in this
I
idea?
don't believe so.
It basically means computers, if they're getting smaller, means that they can be properly functional when they're really, really small. So you can put them in things like cups and, I don't know, I'm just looking around my room, cameras or whatever. You know.
Yeah, well, this is kind of something I wanted to ask you about because there was another article, and I don't know who submitted it, but it was pretty popular, was that there's going to be several billion devices that are going to be able to be connected to each other. And I really haven't gotten too much into it, but what are the benefits of having your clothing connected to the cloud?
I don't know. It just seems like it's one of these things that's just going to happen.
Yeah.
The number of, I saw a good TED talk, I think perhaps it was TED talk or something of the like about this, which said that the number of devices is going to keep on increasing, and the number of humans is going to increase at a slower rate. So the number of devices per human is going to increase. So these devices have got to go somewhere. So they're clearly just going to go into, I don't know, your door.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you the one that I'm most excited about is the one... Wow, this sounds stupid. But the one that Michio Kaku talks about that goes in your toilet. Like, have you ever seen The Island where the guy, he's taking a leak and it's like, high sodium detected. Like, new diet regimen implementing now.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool because it lets you, there's no need to go get a checkup at a doctor's office. You have your own dietitian right there. All you have to do is take a leak. So that is pretty cool. Regarding a sweatshirt that's connected to the cloud, I don't know why that's a good idea, other than that if someone steals your sweatshirt, you know where it is. But
we're not visionaries. We just relay the information. There'll be someone who'll come up with some fantastic idea for why you need a computer and a sweatshirt, I'm sure.
That's right. All right,
so
sorry I cut you off. Yeah.
Virtual animals with digital minds. Virtual animals, it's exactly what it says on the tin.
Yeah, more like a simulated. What he has a picture of here is like a groundworm or something. And we've talked about the simulation theory and stuff on here before, but how we're getting bigger and bigger. Eventually, worms will be rodents. I'm a little concerned with what will happen if we get like a rodent AI loose in a virtual world that has a connection to the internet. That could potentially wreak havoc on some servers, because like, am I right in saying that? Like, you don't want some...
it's the plot of the Digimon movie, so it, I don't know, things could go wrong, things could go well. I'd quite like a little, there was all these sort of virtual pets and things. There was one a long time ago called, I think it was Tui, and it was like a half dolphin, half parrot thing, and you would just sort of play with it like a sort of Tamagotchi or whatever, but more advanced. And this is more advanced in that way, but also there's scientific uses. You can set up a lab of worms, and then you don't have to go near worms, which is always an advantage.
Yeah, and another thing that's cool about these is I'm assuming you can, if you have a simulation, just like a game of SimCity, if you're the programmer, you can hit the fast forward button, so you don't have to sit there and watch these worms in real time. You can get 2 weeks of data in an hour.
Yeah.
So that's huge. All right.
So number 4 is the first sanctioned mega-scale geoengineering project. I'll say that again. The first sanctioned mega-scale geoengineering project.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly talks about climate change when people talk about this. They were saying you could put things in the air to make clouds whiter, or to do all sorts of things, make more clouds. It's all to do with the albedo effect, making sure sunlight gets reflected back rather than absorbed on the Earth to try and prevent global warming.
Yeah, I have 2 questions on this. The first one is, I've read 2 articles this week now about how the higher carbon dioxide levels have caused deserts to kind of flourish and become greener. So are we having people shift over now and say that this climate change thing isn't bad? And also, this this thing they're doing right now, it's not legal, but it says that in some areas they have started working on these geoengineering solutions to try to whiten clouds. I mean, because the clouds, they're everybody's clouds. Can you just set one of these up wherever you want?
I've heard tales from Russians that I know of the Russian government removing clouds on days when there's going to be parades. They send planes into the air and release certain chemicals that would clear clouds away. So there's a nice blue open sky on days when you're having parades and things in big cities.
Wow.
The first question was about climate change and whether I've noticed this as well. There seems to be a growing group of people that are going, well, if climate change is going to happen, it seems like it's going to be pretty good. And I've certainly noticed that is a growing group of people. I don't really have an opinion either way on climate change because nothing I can do can affect it. So I tend not to.
That's not true. Raising awareness is pretty important. For me personally, I don't. It can't be good that the CO2 levels are skyrocketing, and we know, like, out of all the climate scientists that have studied this, more than 90% have said it's caused by humans. On the other hand, when I don't understand something really, I say let's ask a professional. And the professionals in this case are the scientists, and they really haven't said if it's good or bad that deserts are getting greener.
No. I mean, it's not really. There's something in the scientists' code of ethics. It's not an official thing, but typically they like to say, "Here's what's happening," and they don't give any opinion on anything else. So here's what's happening. Deserts are getting greener. It's not a scientist's prerogative to say whether that's a good or bad thing. It's their job to find out the truth, whether it's happening or not. And then the rest is all up to anybody else who has an interest in whether deserts are getting greener or not.
Yeah, the other thing I was thinking about this, it just came to me, if we can change the weather, would that mean that we are technically going to be like like a stage
Type
1? Type 1 civilization?
Don't we have to have complete control of our sun or something like that? I've forgotten what they...
That's type 2. Type 1 is that you can manipulate your planet and you can harvest like all the energy from your planet. You can toy with the weather. Type 2 is you can harvest your local star for all of its energy. And type 3 is you can play with your galaxy.
Okay. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Well, it's a step towards it at any rate. There's probably other things we have to do. Should we move on? Number 5?
Yes.
An interplanetary internet. Doesn't really take much explaining. There will be a server on Mars or whatever it takes. I'm not too au fait with the ins and outs of how the internet works, so I don't know what they need up there. But yes, an interplanetary internet seems something that's rather inevitable.
Yeah. So if you're chatting with someone who's on Mars, you'll be like, "Hey, how are you?" And 20 minutes later, he will reply to that.
Yeah. You know, there's a 1-second delay to the moon. So even if you have a moon colony, you can't play TF2 with your moon friends.
Yeah. I don't even play, I play Quake Live, or I just uninstalled again because it just, I don't get any work done. But I don't even play on East Coast servers with like 100 ping, and that's 1/10 of a second.
Yeah.
So it really, I think something else is going to have to happen in order of, you know what I mean? Just either they change the way connections work, or because we're going the speed of light right now, right?
Yeah. What?
So.
Roughly, yeah. There's not too much. Yeah, most of the lag in internet systems are to do with the speed of light, and our communications down fiber optic cables travel at the speed of light. So, I mean, there's not much you can do to beat that, but we're going to have to find some way of not beating the speed of light because it's impossible, but just some way to make the internet a bit better even with a delay for interplanetary internets.
Yeah. I know you're a gamer too. Has there been any word on if they're working on something like this? Because I know that there would be, especially for competitive gaming like StarCraft, I know that like it's tough to play against Koreans, here just because of that lag time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I haven't heard anything. But games need to... I mean, over LAN is much faster, and a lot of games seem to be moving away from LAN anyway, local area network connections. So they seem to be shooting themselves in the foot a little bit on that front for the sake of DRM. So I think it's on the back burner. That doesn't seem to be a concern.
All right. I really want to ask you about the speed of light thing, but let's move on.
Okay. The first true anti-aging intervention. So basically, this section of the article was saying that there's a whole load of things that claim to prevent aging when really they're just masking wrinkles or whatever.
Yeah.
But they're saying that Aubrey de Grey and his friends are, by the 2030s, going to put out the first little thing. It's in none of the articles that we're going to be talking about on this particular podcast, but it seems to be that they might get beat to the punch by those head replacers that they were talking about. The people who claim that by a certain time, that seemed to be sooner than 2020 or sooner than 2030, you're going to be able to just have a head transplant.
Yeah, I think that's very pseudo at this time still, because they have to. The hardest thing right now is how to reattach a spinal cord, and if they could do that, then there wouldn't be spinal cord injuries anymore. They haven't been able to fix people who even have, severed cords. So, because I watched the video of when they used to do this with the monkeys,
dogs and things, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and they were shocking videos. But it's like, that's really not a transplant if he can only blink his eyes and the nerves can't, affect the limbs. But who knows? I mean, if he thinks he can do it, then I do think it's going to have to be something on the nano scale where something can get in there and sew up those nerves, because I don't see any way that they're going to be able to do that right now.
Absolutely not. No, you can't just ram the two together very precisely. It doesn't work. You got a beating heart to deal with. You got heat, vibrations, all sorts. You can't just slap two things together. But they're saying that they might get it done. And whether they beat the anti-aging people to the punch is an interesting prospect.
Yeah, and competition is always good. I'm interested to see how far along the Russia 2045 will be in the 2030s.
Yeah. That's another approach to anti-aging, isn't it? And it's an approach that's very similar to number 7, autonomous robots with a license to kill. That's on their list. I've always disparaged this idea because, I mean, how harmful have we made robots so far? Autonomous ones that act of their own accord.
Yeah.
Not very. And it seems to me that if you program something, it's programmed in that way. So unless you are really rampant with your self-teaching robots, then I don't really rate number 7 very highly.
I don't think this is because can't we already do this? Don't drones already zap people out of the sky, or is that does someone always have to push that button?
I think there might always be someone there controlling it. I don't think it works. I mean, maybe you can just plug in a target and it just goes, but by that, I don't know. But you could say a missile does the same thing, it just...
Yeah. There's a huge, and it happened in the last month or two, like the whole NSA and anti-drone. I'm on the other side of the fence. I don't care if there's thousands of drones in the air. In fact, I would feel safer just because, there's so many douchebags out there that want to take your wallet, and we see it all the time. I live in kind of a busy area, and if there's all that, surveillance out there, it's going to deter a lot of people from doing stuff, and it's also going to be able to snatch people up right away when they do bad stuff. Yeah, and I'll be honest, now when I'm sitting at my computer, I'm embarrassed to pick my nose or whatever, because I see the webcam and I'm like, I wonder if those NSA guys are checking me out right now. It's one of those things, but I would still rather have, and if anyone who's ever lost a kid in the wilderness or anything like that'll be a thing of the past. We just have to remember that it's not a Terminator in the sky. It's really just a big camera collecting data. And, you don't think you're being filmed, but you don't know if you're at the grocery store, if some kid's not taking a picture of you with their iPhone and putting it on Facebook and saying, look at this idiot. So it's already happening now. And just because there's a few robots flying around, I don't know. I guess I'll have to be convinced before I become anti. On the other hand, I also don't want to see a Terminator like run into a house and shred a family because someone programmed it wrong.
Yeah. I don't know. I want to see a drone deliver a pizza, and then I'll be on the drone side, I think.
Cool.
Moving onwards, 8 on this very long article. Our very own lab-grown organs and meat. Does seem inevitable, doesn't it? 2030. Wasn't there going to be a tasting soon, the first ever?
The in vitro stuff?
The in vitro meat. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is one thing I'm on board with too. I mean, I love to eat meat, like cheeseburger, steak, whatever. I like to splurge once in a while and just tear into some meat. But I have no problem eating artificial meat as long as it tastes good and it has the same nutrients. Then it shouldn't matter where it comes from, to me anyway. But there's a big people don't want this; they want their cow. So we'll see where it goes. I'm sure it'll be one of those things.
You can do it from the taste test. I mean, if you like murder with your meat, then I'm sure that can be provided. But it's a little more ethical. I'm not a vegetarian, but I fully stick my hands up in the air and say I really feel uncomfortable when I see those videos of slaughterhouses. So if that can go away, please, and I can eat meat with a clear conscience, then I'd be more than happy to.
Yeah, and I mean, it would cut back quite a bit on the methane too, from if we don't have so many cows.
Absolutely, yes. It's anti-global warming. There you go. Number 9, personal fabricators in every home. It's just talking 3D printers.
Right.
Again, we've done this a number of times. We can probably just skip ahead. Because number 10 is my jam. I love oceans quenching the world's thirst. Number 10, the oceans will quench the world's thirst. I don't know, it's so mundane, but I really love the idea of desalination. The idea that if you have enough energy, you can just extract the salt from the sea and prevent water wars or whatever is going to come about.
I agree with that 100%. And also, we need to figure out a way, and I believe it's coming, that our current waste isn't being utilized enough. I know in fact, I think you and I talked about it, how in Asia, was it you who was telling me that China actually buys waste from other countries because they turn it into energy?
I think that's a Scandinavian country.
Oh, okay.
But there is a country out there that burns waste for energy. I don't know how environmentally friendly that is, but they do it anyway. And they've run out of waste, and they buy waste from a neighbouring country. It's one of either Sweden and Norway, and one of them buys their waste off the other one. And I don't know which way around it is. Because it is interesting.
If we can find a way to keep our water almost 100% recyclable and clean, plus desalination, then good news for everybody.
You're living on easy, clean, green street. It's perfect.
That's right.
So, how about, speaking of easy, clean, green street, the next article, it's an entirely new article. It's not another one on this list. That was the top 10 things that would happen before 2030. But if you'd like to introduce the next one, because it's quite relevant to what we were just talking about.
Sure. And if you like that list on IO9 and you like that type of article, the guy who wrote that has his own site called sentientdevelopments.com, and you can check that out. He just came out with another list, stuff that'll happen after things that could possibly happen after the singularity. So it's pretty interesting. All right, this next one has 716 upvotes. It's a mouthful. Cost of solar panels to drop to 36 cents per watt by 2017. A 1,000 watt panel to cost $360, not counting installation, but last about 6 times longer than batteries. Suddenly, that $360 sounds good. That was submitted by Illuminio. And you get the golden star for the best title.
Yeah. Nice and descriptive. Not, wow, look at this thing from the future. No, you've got all the details.
Yeah. So the first thing I do, because this article is just showing us the math, how the price of solar is going down, and I looked at the comments, and the first one is by a guy named Yosarian2, and he says that the most expensive thing right now in solar is the actual install. So that, and then the thread goes on to talk about why these things aren't DIY, and it looks like you can get some solar DIY panels that will completely eliminate that installation cost. I don't think you and I have really ever talked about solar and what your thoughts on it are.
I think it's going to save the world.
Yeah.
In terms of alternate energy, I think it's going to get there before fusion. It's going to get there definitely before wind and tidal and all that. It's nice and steady. It's perfect, and it's most importantly decentralized. You can have one to yourself and run your house with it. I've definitely seen more cropping up around. Maybe not where I'm living right now, but maybe back in my family home. There's a few more. It's a little richer area. It's great to see them, although they have a tendency. We have some on some lights in the middle of a street somewhere or a highway, I forget, and it's possible to steal them if you put them on public things.
Really?
And while they're still expensive, although this is saying the price is going down, maybe that'll reduce the incentive. Yeah, it's they are thievable. But if you got a massive one on top of your house, they're gonna have to lift your whole house away to take it. So.
But if we have the killer robots walking around, they can just put a couple bullets in whoever tries to steal one.
That's true. You can't think of these things in isolation. You got to see the whole big picture.
That's right. I'm surprised. I mean, as someone who lives in Southern California, I'm surprised how few solar panels we have down here. I mean, because grocery stores alone spend so much money just to refrigerate foods and to keep the whole place cool inside there. And there's a lot of stores that don't have solar. It's almost mind-boggling why people aren't jumping on this bandwagon here. We have some friends who just moved into a new house, and they have a $0 power bill. They run a pool heater. It's like a big 4-bedroom house. Have the lights on, have huge parties. They don't pay for electricity. People have got to be able to see that this is the way to go. So I'm actually surprised, even with the prices coming down, that more people haven't jumped on the bandwagon. Do you think, how much cheaper does it have to get, or are we now just waiting for the install to get cheaper?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe that's what's going to happen. Is the installation cost has got to go down, because I mean, it's if the cost of the panels themselves go down, that does decrease the barrier to entry for competing installation firms or whatever. Yeah, it's all very interesting, and I wonder why it hasn't taken off. But it does seem like the best idea in the world, right? It just frees you from that extra responsibility, and that's what all people want, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it opens up another market if you think about it. Like, if someone can figure out how to do easy, maybe not DIY, but easy installs, so you don't need a guy climbing around your roof all day. You can just slap something down, and with a few screws, you'll have your solar panel up there. So
yeah,
if you're an entrepreneur, look into that for us.
Yeah, have it like sockets in the wall that work in reverse, designed to put energy into them, and then you can plug in your solar windows or whatever. Yeah,
that's a good idea. Look at you.
Oh.
All right, next one.
It probably doesn't work. Okay, the next article is an even longer title than the last one. Submitted by Pateras, with 649 points. Scientists use new engineered virus to restore sight. We have now created a virus that you just inject into the liquid vitreous humor inside the eye, and it delivers genes to a very difficult to reach population of delicate cells. It's a 15-minute procedure, and you can likely go home that day. So this is an article about gene therapy, which I don't think is something we've talked about on the podcast before, at least not while I've been here. And it's the concept of gene therapy is that you hijack a virus and get it to do something that you want it to do. Viruses typically inject their DNA into a cell, and if you replace that DNA with a slightly altered human DNA, you can get the virus to inject a human DNA that is the one that you want into somebody's cell, and then it can start making the proteins that you want it to make.
Mm-hmm. So what is different about this what is the hurdle that they overcame? Because I'm reading the second to last paragraph. Building upon 14 years of research, we have now created a virus that you can just inject into the liquid, and it's a 15-minute procedure rather than an all-day thing.
Yeah.
So
typically eye stuff is very delicate and takes a while, and this allows you to just go, boop, here's your virus, and then you're done. Use this particular injection. And the thing that was notable about it, as somebody rightly points out in the comments, is that they generated about 100 million variants of this particular virus, each with a different, slightly different properties, and they managed to pick out the few that were effective. So even that, in and of itself, is incredibly impressive. But to have this fixing problems in the eye with just a little injection, that seems pretty sci-fi, mundane but sci-fi.
Right. So is it safe to say, because this is just for a very specific type of eye diseases, but with a few altercations, will they be able to get other diseases as well with this method?
Yeah, anything that you have a genetic issue with is fixable via gene therapy. It's just quite fiddly, but it is a really interesting concept.
Interesting. Should we move into the last
final
thread?
linky link? Sure.
Final linky link. 558 upvotes. Marijuana vending machines are the future of recreational drug use. Submitted by Trogzolite. And yeah, this article doesn't have a whole lot of information except that a company called Index Corp wants to put those little... I'm sure you guys remember the vending machines they had for cigarettes, and then they eventually got rid of those. They might actually still have those in the UK.
I remember seeing one within the last 5 years. It might have gone now. I think that particular pub got renovated, so maybe it's gone.
When I was in Germany, I remember them. Any kid could go buy cigarettes, just throw the money in and get it. As far as being a good or a bad thing, I don't know. I don't have an opinion on this yet. I would think if you are a medical patient, it's still easier to because I personally have my medical card, and I can make a phone call and they'll be here in 30 minutes with whatever weed I want, and then gone. So I would be almost embarrassed to go to a weed vending machine.
Yeah. I don't know. It looks like it's a little silly looking machine as well.
It is, but it's cool but I wonder if it's going to target a completely different crowd and not the medical crowd. And I don't think something like this could ever pass in the States.
I don't think it would pass here either. The place for your vending machines, and let's talk about vending machines just in general, is Japan. They have all the kinds of crazy vending machines there. So, I mean, it might be take off in Japan. I don't know what their marijuana laws are.
Yeah, I don't either. Hopefully we get something done with the laws soon, though, because it's happening more and more. It's like marijuana is the new gay marriage.
Well, you guys fixed that one, haven't you? Recently?
Yeah. The Prop 8 thing, that's so funny. It's so funny that people get angry that other people want to get married.
Yeah. I mean, imagine how angry they're going to be at transhumanist ideas when they hit the mainstream. Have you seen the Glenn Beck video about transhumanism?
No, I haven't. What?
Oh, he acts so scared. It's amazing.
I
will link it in the description of this video, and I'll link it probably in the Reddit post when you post it.
Was it an interview?
It was a piece on one of his shows. I don't know how long ago it is, but yeah, just going through all the different things to do with transhumanism and just being very scared by the whole concept, and it's great. He puts a wonderful negative spin on it that I really enjoyed. So it's definitely worth a watch if you want to know what kind of reaction your parents or your grandparents are going to have when you talk about these ideas in the open if they become super mainstream.
Yeah, my mom will flip out for sure because she's religious, and I went through and read the Bible on all the gay marriage stuff to see if it actually makes sense, and it doesn't at all. The only place where it says anything about two men is in the Old Testament, but no one who quotes the Bible uses the Old Testament anymore. They say, because that's the book where they say women should be stoned if they are unfaithful and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, Mom, so do you think you should be stoned? And she's like, well, no, that's Old Testament. I said, well, Old Testament is the only place where it says anything about two dudes. And Jesus never said anything about gay marriage. What he did speak out against was divorce. And look, my mom's been divorced too, so I was like, who's the bigger sinner here? And no one wants to address that, but I don't think you can use the Bible really to go against gay marriage. At the end of the day, if you're really against it, say, listen, I'm kind of an ass and I don't want gay people to marry, but don't try to bring the Bible into it, because now you're just sounding stupid.
I don't try and bring the law into it either. If you don't like it, just whatever. You don't like it. Don't try and stop other people from doing it if it's not harming anybody, which is a very good philosophy to go by, I think.
Yes. Cool. Well, that's pretty much all the links. Did you want to add anything else to the overall
list?
Yeah.
I don't know. No, I don't think I did. This is great.
Yeah, we finished a little early this week, and that's good. We're right at about 50 minutes. So just another reminder for you guys, we will get that AMA up next week. And yep, if you guys have questions for the engineers of the flying cars there, I'll get a thread going too sometime this week. You guys can just put your questions in there, and we'll take the highest voted questions and we'll ask these flying car engineers what's up.
Awesome.
Cool. How can people follow your stuff?
Oh, it's such a mix these days, but youtube.com/SpeakMouthWords is where my content is. If you like me as a person, my Twitter is SpeakMouthWords as well. If you really like me as a person, my Tumblr is precioustritium.tumblr.com. And that's all I'm going to give.
That is
and
a
yourself?
mouthful. Yeah, I can be found on Reddit. Blinker Goes Left. You can just drop me a line. Twitter is @regretful. I don't really use it much. And that's probably the best thing to do, is just to send me a message if you ever want to come on and be a guest. I've had a couple people say they want to come on and chat. Again, there's really not a huge screening process.
No.
Come on, talk to us about the future.
Hey, you know what? We never talk about your YouTube channel.
Oh, that's because it's not really like an official YouTube channel. It's just I have the playlist there for all of the Futurology podcasts, and I never really wanted to build a channel up, because that's also what I use for my personal comments. And if you're subscribed to someone, you can see their comments, and sometimes I troll, like I'll light people up if they're stupid on YouTube. And I just don't want to look like an ass.
Okay, but so the lesson to take away from this is, if you see the Futurology podcast uploaded on a strange website, a strange YouTube channel, and you don't know what it is, do not be afeard. It's just
it's just me.
Left. That's fine.
Cool. All right, and we'll probably see you guys. It won't be a full month. It'll probably just be a week between the next podcast,
and I'll be back in a month's time. I'm not going to leave it again.
Good. Yeah, and you need to get your nobody paying attention video up for this month because people are pissed.
I'm sure they are.
Deal?
Christ. Maybe. I don't know.
No, there's no maybes. You're on the spot right now. The Futurology community demands a new video, and we want to know when it's going to be up.
Do you really want one like 12 days into a month? Me talking about the last month.
So it'll be a half month.
I'll give a try with. I'll do a half month one, and we'll try and get them out a bit more regularly with a few less stories. How does that sound?
Beautiful. All right, man. We will talk to you next week.
Sweet. Awesome. There we go.